Hello, welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and we're gonna do it like yesterday. Deck tech will be at the end of the video. If you want the deck list right now, check in the description. But today we are playing a mill deck. Yes, a mill deck. Mill decks. Since the dawn of time, in the rules it said if your opponent could no longer draw a card from their library, they lose the game. And ever since the dawn of Magic, there have been people trying to use cards like Millstone, which is where the term mill comes from, to make the opponent empty their deck and be unable to draw a card rather than attack their life total. The first Pro Tour winning deck was a Millstone deck. True story. And from M19, the card Psychic Corrosion continues the tradition, giving us a way to make our opponent put 2 cards into their graveyard for every 1 card we draw. So here we are playing a Psychic Corrosion version of blue-white control. Oh boy. And it looks like we get a red deck to open the party for us. What is happening? Dark Dweller Oracle, a new card from M19. Sacrifice a creature, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. It's interesting. It's a strange card, I would say. Here is the Corrosion. Let's start the party. So aside from commit, one thing about this build that you're going to see, no counter spells. Commit is kind of a counter spell, but it's not, I would say, a traditional counter spell in any way. Our opponent going wide with a Goblin Instigator here. So it looks like we get our first taste of a Goblin deck. We will mill our opponent for 2. We will brick on lands, so that's high priority. The deck absolutely needs all of its land drops. Like, we really want to get up to 7, to be totally honest. So let's get the Search for Azcanta online and start finding those lands. I'm confident we're going to take a hit here for it, but we can recover very quickly if we get to our 4th and 5th land with a hand like this against a Goblin deck. Four mana and a Dark Dweller Oracle and 2 1/1 Goblins. What will you do? Here come the beats. What next? Ooh, just lightning strike your face. Okay. Some red decks do that. All the red decks seem to do that. I've got a Graveyard You. Would be a good time for a land. Wow, worst draw possible. Chain Whirler! Out of here. I guess I'll represent counter Magic. The opponent doesn't know I don't play it, but it's brutal right now. Brutal. We're getting multiple looks a turn and we can't do it. Goblin Warchief to the battlefield, sure. Nothing I can do about it. Another Oracle, yep. We're still okay. We just need a land. We only get 1 more turn to pull this off. The opponent could exile their Warchief with a Dark Dweller Oracle, but I don't think that will do any good, and all it really does is exile 1 more card off the top of the deck. There isn't much they could play, you know what I mean? So, good choice not to, I think. And the search, can we find a land? We can! Still alive. Down to 5, still alive, baby. Opponent filling up that graveyard. Siege Gang Commander. Fumigate can sort of get us back in the game. The Dark Dweller Oracle sacrificing the creatures could be a big problem. Trashy. Trash Master pumps all the dudes, but it does tap our opponent's mana, so it gives us a. a shot here at this fumigation. Meow. Just you and you. Do we settle or do we commit? Commit lets us actually survive, but we go to 3. But really, like, if we settled here, we'd be in the same spot where we need a land off the top for the Fumigate or we lose anyway. And going to 3 and being subjugate, you know, we could die to a lightning strike. But it's the same thing. If we draw the land and Fumigate, we're out of lightning strike range. And we still get to keep the settle. And if our opponent doesn't have the lightning strike, we still have settle to buy us another turn next turn. So we're going to use the commit. And take deuce. Come on, land. It's sad. I think I need to. Oh, this is tough because if I bin it, my opponent knows I have one, right? And but I just don't think sitting here and settling multiple times waiting for a land is a good play either. I'm going to bin it. And it's going to be weird, but I need these lands. And we got one in Reliquary Tower. You have no maximum hand size. Great when I am going off with Pull from Tomorrow. Anyway, let's Fumigate this baby. Dark Dweller Oracle should sacrifice something to prevent the life gain from the Fumigate, but it looks like our opponent misses that play. We're up to 4, so we're closing in on the Azcanta flips. Our opponent still has 39 cards in their deck, and a Siege Gang Commander is here. Fortunately, there will be more Fumigation. This version of the deck, this mill deck, plays all 4 of the Fumigates, my friends. No, I don't think I'm going to have a cast out-ish target that I want to use on the Goblin deck. I think I'd want more sweepers and card draw and land, of course. At least for a few more turns, I want land. All right, some mountains hit the bin, no big deal. We'll play our Arch of Orazca. We have 5 cards in the graveyard. Let's go ahead and Fumigate the Siege Gang Commander as well. It's hard to turn down the life gain, and if our opponent gets to untap, they get to sacrifice their goblins to deal 2 damage to any target, which would go right to the face and totally ruin the life gain from the Fumigate. Our opponent now with the Chain Whirler, a card that we actually don't have to care about playing blue-white. Hallelujah. The search continues. We're on 6, so if we put this in the graveyard, we get to flip our search for Azcanta. As much as I would love a Divination, I want to flip my search even more. Transform, draw, mill, main. I went into full narration mode in there. I'm not sure why. All right, we're at 10. We're facing a Chain Whirler. We have a search we can use. The thing is, do I want to cast this, or do I want to have all my mana available after using Azcanta? And I think I want to have my mana available, so we're just going to pass the turn. If we get another cast out, a 4-mana spell, or if my opponent plays a bunch of hasty goblins using something like a Goblin War Chief, we want to be able to play a settle if we absolutely had to for some reason. And our opponent has seen enough. They do not want to see their graveyard simply drained away, or their library simply sucked away, vacuumed away from them. Shall we do more? Now that there's a face cam, you know what the silence is while the game is matching us with an opponent. It's usually me drinking. Okay, we had mana issues last game. There's potential for mana issues this game, but we have so many of the pieces I want and need, we're going to keep it. Patient Rebuilding is another fun card in the deck. It mills your opponent for 3 cards, and you draw a card if you mill a land. So at least a good amount of the time it is opponent mills 3 and you draw an extra card, which is why it's 5 mana. By the way, just a spoiler, if you haven't looked at the deck list, we are a blue-white control deck without Teferi. Hold on. We are a blue-white control deck without Teferi. Yes, there are other ways to win the game. I'm kind of amazed myself. Well, I don't think I should turn away land at this point of the game, so I'm going to keep this card. I think it would be a little greedy at this point in the game to throw a land away, especially after last game. I'm a little traumatized. We basically want to hit all our land drops right up to the point where Pull from Tomorrow does good stuff. Our opponent tanking. What is going on? They're on 0 timeouts. Okay. Do we straight go for a corrosion here? It could get countered, but I think we go for it. If our opponent has Essence Scatter, cast down a bunch of removal spells, they may just have no answer to the corrosion. And there it is, and they're black and blue, so removing it is pretty much commit to memory, blink of an eye, things like that. You might say, but isn't it just always right to play Teferi if you're playing blue-white control, even in a mill deck, especially with cards like Psychic Corrosion? And not necessarily. If the format is warped around combating Teferi, think about a card like Vraska's Contempt. Vraska's Contempt is a card that has targets against blue-white control, but against this version of blue-white control has literal no targets. It becomes a completely dead card. All right. Can I keep this one? I think I'll just keep it to be safe. Things are going so well right now, I don't want to jinx it. I want to keep hitting my land drops. So Nicole Bolas, our opponent with some Grixis Flare. They also have Divination and Golden Demise hanging out. Play our land. Pass the turn. I think hanging on to this cast out would be wise. Scarab Gods are very annoying when we're filling our opponent's graveyard for them. So having a cast out available is going to be important. Doomfall. Ouch. We'll have to let our opponent exile something. But I think at this stage they'll have to pick the Patient Rebuilding. Maybe. They don't really have great choices here. We're also playing a blue-white control deck here. This mill deck with no counter spells aside from the Commit to Memory. So no Teferi and no counter spell I think makes it a very different deck. Our opponent does take the cast down. Or the cast out. This tells me that there is a Scarab God coming, and we're going to have to wreck it. We're going to have to totally wreck this Scarab God. Oh, can I turn that away? I don't think so. I don't think I can turn that away. Top of our deck's been too kind. And there goes lands. And let's slam the Patient Rebuilding. Our opponent will get the Scarab God. We're going to have to find an answer to it, but we can also just go for the pure Turbo Mills and see if we can crush our opponent's library. We do have a number of sweepers. We have four Settle the Wreckages and 4 Fumigates. So letting our opponent getting a Scarab God is probably not the worst thing that could happen. And here's Corrosion going off with Patient Rebuilding. Gotta love it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to Divinate and Corrosion this turn. It's going to be hot sauce. Our opponent, what are they getting back, though? That's always a pain. At this point, if they get back a Champion of Wits, that's fine. If they get back a Nicole Bolas, I've got cards to discard. It's fine. All right. So, more Corrosion. More Divination. There's a Fumigate. All the triggers. We're just going to hit the end turn, so hopefully our timer stops running. All right, and what did we dump? There's an Oblivion down there, but there aren't that many creatures, and we're not offering creatures from our deck. We are a creatureless build. Here comes something. It's Bolas. And let's discard. Our opponent knows about the Pull from Tomorrow. They don't know about both Pull from Tomorrows, and we probably only need one Pull from Tomorrow to win. But I think it's still better to discard the tapped land, to be honest, as it's not going to have an effect on the game next turn. With 24 cards, and with 4 cards each, if we draw 6 cards next turn, our opponent is toast, and I think we can do it. They do have some mana up. There could be a negate. But let's find out. It's gonna be a race to the bottom. There's a card. There's corrosions. We're on 2 cards, so the search isn't gonna flip here. But we'll take that land. It's exactly what we want. Opponent with something in their hand. Here's more corroding. Our opponent's on 17 now. Wearing them down. 13. We definitely have them if the Pull from Tomorrow resolves. If they have a negate, they could counter any of these. So either way, what they have to do is be able to negate us and then kill us on the next turn, which doesn't appear very likely at all. But regardless, we're going to cast Pull from Tomorrow in our end step before our opponent untaps, but after they may have tried to play something. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to mark the end step, and we're going to pass these priorities. So we go to end step. End step, we're now in the end step. We'll go for the Pull from Tomorrow. I guess I could have played around Censor. I could have gone for 4. That still would have been more than enough. So if I get censored here, I made a mistake. There's a Consign. Okay, that will bounce one of the corrosions. We're still going to draw 5, which is going to mill our opponent for 10. It's not quite over. I'm gonna hit the end turn in the hopes that our timer will stop running, but it won't. Apparently you can't. Apparently there's no choice but to click. It's probably because I put the stop on my end step. That would explain that. All right, our opponent on 3 cards going to 2, facing Patient Rebuilding and Psychic Corrosion. Do they have a commit to memory is probably their only chance here. They would need the memory in the graveyard. If the commit is in their hand, it can't do them any good. Yep, we're doom falling. And here they come. Down to 5. Let's do this. And that'll do it. The opponent can take no more. Their library has been emptied. Their time on this world is done. Oh, a booster pack. I bet we all want to see what's in that. I want to see what's in it myself. Rip it open. Fraying Omnipotence. And we didn't get the, click reveal. Does that mean I already have 4 of these? Each player loses half their life, discards half their hand, and sacrifices half their creatures. Sounds pretty lame. I'm not really into that kind of effect. Some people are. There's something for everybody, right? I think we can go for one more. I'm sure there are some people out there saying, yes, mill, more mill decks. If you are a mill fan, make sure you sound off in the comments. I guarantee you there will be some haters who will sound off in the comments. So make your voices heard, because if all I hear is the hate, I'll think nobody likes mill and I won't play mill decks. But if you, I'm so confident that there are mill fans out there, please sound off. Alrighty, this hand. Holy cow. So this deck runs a ton of enchantments. It's possible that Search for Azcanta doesn't belong in this deck. I just really like it because control decks freak out when they face a Search for Azcanta. He has no abilities, so it's a good target for an Aether Meltdown. Gravy Marshal. So much better target for Seal Away is the Grave Marshal, since it has a good ability it can use. So we're just going to melt this down. Plus, you have to remember, they play Lords. Lots of Lords of the Accursed. Lots of cards that pump their zombies. So if like this way, they'll take 3 more Lords before we even have to worry about this. And man, is Fumigate going to like that. All right. So do we seal away, or do we take a hit and get search going? I think we get the search going. Start helping our draws. Start finding the cards we need. Like sweepers. It's zombies. We need a lot of sweepers. The Awakener is here. Whenever it attacks, you may pay X. If you do, return target creature card with convert mana cast X or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Well, we're not going to help our opponent much with that. We're not going to put many things in our graveyard. Well, at least not for now. Not until it's fumigation time, baby. I guess so, but on the other hand, I kind of have the stuff covered. But still, hard to turn down. I guess what we want to do is keep trading 1 for 1 until we flip the search. So I'm going to push flipping search faster than I normally would, especially with so many sweepers in the deck. There we go. That's, yeah, I'm much happier to have that card in my life. Anointed Procession. Lord Almighty. Let's make our opponent think about a Settle the Wreckage here. And they do. If they are thinking about Settle, it's very likely they should be attacking with this Ghoul. Anyway. I think I'll just seal away this Marshal, as it does have a relevant ability. We can always hold this cast out and use it in response to something that triggers the Annoying Procession happening. Take this and resolve the Rebuilding. It does let my opponent do something with their Annoying Procession. On the other hand, we could be filling the graveyard and holding up our cast out for the Procession if our opponent does something like a Liliana's Mastery. But even then, if we find a sweeper, we just don't care. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to get Rebuilding right away. Let's get this going. We're going to start filling our opponent's graveyard, so we have to watch out for the Awakener here. So it's very important that we find a Settle or a Fumigate soon. We do run 4 of each for this version of the deck. Another Marshal joins the team. Awakener can't get anything back. So we'll take 3. But here comes Rebuilding, so it's about to get real. As we start putting cards in our opponent's graveyard, they can exile them with a Marshal and make multiple copies of these tokens. Graveyard, you're not a sweeper. We need sweeper. We found sweeper. All right. Yep, there are some dorks there. Let's end that turn. I love spots like this. If our opponent attacks us with enough things to trigger the Settle, we'll cast it. If our opponent does not attack us with enough things, we'll pull from Tomorrow and draw 4 freaking cards. It's the good stuff. It's the spots you really like to be in. So let's see how our opponent wants to handle this attack step. Oh, the total jams? No. Maybe? Sorta? Just you? All right. Then that's fine with me. All right. What don't we need? Oddly, I suppose it's the Divination. As much as I would love to keep drawing cards, the sorcery speed, tap out nature of it, not really what we're looking for. Draw upon 4 cards. We can graveyard that. We have another Rivulet in hand, ready to go. Go ahead and play that out. Yep. Here's a Corrosion. Let's get the mill going. Our opponent put a Josu Vest into the yard. Woo! Hot sauce. So our opponent now has double Annoying Procession. They can make many zombies. The question is, does it really matter that much? Here comes just the Awakener. Are they going to use the ability to get a Josu, perhaps? Or a Baron? I guess a Baron. They can't get a Josu. They have 4 mana. Or no, it is X. They can get a Josu. I thought it was black and X. My bad. Still learning the cards. 1 mana. 2 mana. 3 mana. 3 is the amount of the manas. There's your Death Baron. Alright. Well, we can just cast out this Awakener, and I will. We're just repeatedly punishing our opponent for conservative attacks, which is exactly the way that you want to be able to do it in a deck like this. Search says Graveyard. Card off the top says more search. Land for turn. Any other effects we want to do? I could play this other search just to make sure that this would flip next turn. But we'll just not. How about not? How about no? We'll just keep sitting here doing our thing. Karn in Zombos. A Johnny in Zombos. Our opponent doesn't mind going for it, that's for sure. Angel of Sanctions. Okay. So many choices. The cast out, you say. Okay. That's interesting because we can now Fumigate, get our cast out back, and take an Anointed Procession. Love it. Opponent's coming at us. I'll take this bump. We're going to gain it all back with the Fumigate. I think I'll just cycle this, though, in hopes of hitting a pull from tomorrow would be so sweet right here. Instead, it's all the search for Azcantas. So, one change I'd make to the deck right now is to adjust the search for Azcanta levels. I have 3 of them. It sounded way more fun to me at the time. Look at us go! Holy cow. Library. Transform. Then you draw a card for each land put into the graveyard this way. So I've never actually drawn that many cards off of Patient Rebuilding, but we frickin' did it. That was sweet. All right. Milia. We're at 21. Let's start with a cycle. We might be able to mill our opponent out this turn if we hit a Corrosion off the top. All right, another Angel of Sanctions, 19 cards to go. So this is 4 cards off the top, 8, 12. So no, we're not there, but we are fumigatable. Give me that other procession of yours. Cool. We are divine. Some divinations could be Secrets of the Golden City. I'm always paranoid about the mana, about not having double blue on turn 3 when I really need to draw into it. And that always makes me paranoid about Secrets of the Golden City versus Divination. Just kind of letting you know about that, why I do what I do. All right, what do we get back? Angel Sanctions, right? Has to be. Angel Sanctions take away the Rebuilding or the Corrosion, I think.
And now for the encore.
Zombie Angel, gross. Our opponent, though, 14 cards. Whichever one they pick, they're going to go under 12, which means we can Rivulet them to death. Just wants the procession back. This opponent it just wants to do their thing. Ooh, we did it! We did it! All right, what are they at? They're at 7? They're going to go to 5. Oh, we get to kill them this turn. We get to fireball the deck. All right, Overflowing Insight. Targeting a U. Boom. I'm glad we got to see that on camera. What? All right, let's go have a look at the deck. We played our games. We unlocked some kicking and screaming deck, I guess. Don't know what that even means. Let's see. What is a kicking and screaming deck? Oh, it's the kicker deck. So when we play against the kicker deck, our opponent unlocked the kicking and screaming deck. Get it? Kicking and screaming? Oh, I totally get it. All right, so you can unlock these theme decks. Sorry, not interested in your theme deck. I'll build my own if I want. I'm just like that. So let's talk about the blue-white deck for a minute now that you've seen some gameplay. A lot of 4-ofs. Divinations, Aether Meltdowns. Let's see. I would definitely trim these Search for Azcanta, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Probably only one, maybe none. Maybe it's just the wrong card for the deck, and we should be playing other cards to help the deck out a little bit more. So, let's see. I did love the... I love the Aether Meltdown. Like, I really loved it. I love that it leaves the creature on the battlefield for the Fumigate to gain you more life later. So, maybe we just bump those up and play Aether Meltdown instead. Divination, I do like it. It's mainly there because you really do want to cast on turn 3 to keep the velocity going if you don't have a Corrosion. No fraying Sanities. Just leaning on Corrosion and a patient rebuilding to do the job. I like it this way. One of the big risks you have playing a control-ish mill deck instead of, say, a Turbo Fog or Turbo Mill deck is that you just draw too many enchantments and not enough removal. And so I think this is the way to do it if you're going to play this kind of a deck. And then the pull from tomorrow's the Overwhelming Insights. Once you have a few Psychic Corrosion, you basically fireball their deck. And I like having all the Settles and all the Fumigates to make those decks, to make creature decks miserable. Against control decks, you can just play a weird game where you don't cast anything other than some card draw here and there, and you try to win with Rivulets, right? Do stuff like that. You just try to win with Rivulets. You can also try to resolve your Corrosions, but really against like a solid blue-white control deck, they're going to have more counters than you're going to have threat cards. You kind of have to get lucky. Just get something onto the board, keep it on the board. But I don't sweat that too much. I like this the way it is. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And may your millings be excellent. May your mana screws be rare. And I will see you later.